Use the conflict as an opportunity to grow. I'll give you one last example. Something happens with the bank account, the way the money is being spent. You thought something, they thought something. You know what? Let's use this as an opportunity to sit. Let's look at all of our accounts. Let's look at where the money's going. Let's look at whose name is on what. Maybe we need to make changes. Maybe I need to add you to this. Right? You look at it as an opportunity to raise the bar within your relationship to help fix the problem and have a sustainable resolution to it. And 90% of the times, your culture of communication is going to be what is more sustaining in the relationship than anything else.
So is communication number one in any healthy relationship? What is your take on that?
I don't think it is necessarily, right? So I like to quote my father. My father says, people like to say communication is number one in relationships. And to an extent it is, but it's not a hard number one. My father said, the problem is people talk too much. And that actually ends up leading more problem than anything. And I think my father's exactly right? People talk too much. One of the things that was even a personal discovery for me was how, as educated as I am in a formal and in a business setting, in relationships, like I'm not a good communicator, right? Like I had to realize that doesn't mean it transfer over, right? Because the power dynamics in a boss-employee colleague relationship is totally different than in the romantic space. And so what you discover is most of the times the problem, again, is not with the situation that happened, or the conflict is not the problem. The conflict is the communication style. And we do more things to undermine ourselves in our communication than we may believe. There's a thing in our program that's called the Dirty Dozens of Communication. If you were to look that up, the Dirty Dozens of Communication, and that talks about 12 things that we do when we're communicating to someone or having a conversation trying to resolve a conflict that actually does more to undermine the relationship. For example, one of them is we give people ultimatums. Girl, if he acting like that or he doing that, then you need to tell him he either needs to do this or do that. And actually, people have the natural propensity to do the thing that you don't want them to do when you give them an ultimatum, right? So those dirty dozen things in terms of, someone's telling you what's going on or how to, they're having an issue. And so you decide to tell them about your issue as a way to share with them that you are also aware of what their issue is. Sometimes that's not always the best way of communicating. You're now beginning to undermine, right, their story. And there's so many different things like that happens in communication that we think are normal and appropriate, only to find out actually they're detracting from you. You blame, you point fingers, you speak in you terms, you did this, you. So learning how to communicate. Hey, when you did when such and such happened, I felt that this is what was going on. I thought this was the result of that. I was made to feel. So speaking with I terms instead of you terms is important. I mean, if you really want to be good at this, take a class, watch some YouTube videos, look up effective communication styles and relationships and understand that there are a lot of things that can detract from it. So I don't think communication is the best necessarily on an island by itself. I think it's a grouping of effective communication, tone, and timing, right? And listening. We talk about communicating, but not enough about listening, right? Active listening, reflective listening. Can you hear what the person said and repeat back to them everything they said? So what you're saying is, you feel this, you feel that, and when I do this, you think this is what I'm doing or that's what I'm doing. In order to show them that you understand exactly what they're talking about, right? So probably more so than communicating, meaning talking, number one is probably listening. Something to consider.
The dog has spoken, listening. That's why they gave us 2 ears instead of 2 mouths, right? We need to do more listening and active listening, not just listening, but actively listening is the key. And I asked the question, what challenges have you all had in your relationship? Someone said difficulty balancing individual and couple expectations. And then for you, Dr. Carter, they said, where can they find the dirty dozen communication?
They can go online and do a search for the dirty dozen of communication, and it's going to come up. Usually comes up on mediate.com. Is the name of the website, mediate.com. Mediate.com, the 12 or the dirty dozen of communication, where we moralize, we advise, we teach, we judge, we praise, we shame, ridicule, we analyze, we diagnose. That diagnosing is a big one. Oh, so what you're really saying is, you know what, I think you need to go see a therapist. We got a clinical psychologist on the live. We need to go talk to them. And no, you're not certified to be doing that. So things like that, again, you do more undermining in the communication. Even in your best attempts to help, you realize that you're doing a lot to detract.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. We appreciate that. Coach D, is there different advice that you give for newlyweds as opposed to individuals who have been married for a couple of years? And if so, what kind of advice do you give from a newlywed couple that you would change and give to, what advice would you give a newlywed versus advice you would give to someone who's been married for a couple of years?
One piece of advice that I always give those that come into marriage counseling sessions, whether they are continued sessions after they've gotten married or premarital counseling sessions, is focus on your own marriage. A lot of times, I think, especially in the body of Christ, we make the mistake of thinking that once we get married, we are to teach other people how to prepare to get married or how to stay in a marriage. I honestly believe that the first 2 years of your marriage should be about you and your spouse getting to know each other, getting to know the ugly side, the bad, the good side, or, you know, the two-faced side, whatever you want to call it. But it's the season for you, that building season, that really becoming one season. Something else I tell married couples when they're in their first year of marriage or newlyweds is really take that cutting other people out of your marriage serious, because a lot of times you, your spouse, and God can make something work just fine. And we make the mistake of confiding in other people that may not give the best advice for your spouse, your husband or your wife. One thing that I always tell people, you can help a person prepare for their marriage, but you cannot teach somebody how to be a wife to their husband. And neither can you teach a husband how to be a husband to his wife. That is something you learn when you get into marriage. So I do believe that that first year or two should be about you two just getting to know each other, because a lot of things do happen in that first 2-3 years. And I tell people all the time, you get past the first year, I believe you can make it. If it's God ordained. I'm not saying that if it's not God ordained, you can make it, but I really believe if you can make it past the first year of marriage, if it's God ordained, you can make it. In all honesty, a lot of times we don't seek counseling. We wait too long. Unfortunately, we live in a culture, or we come from a culture that frowns on marriage counseling, that frowns on therapy or mentorship. But I truly believe that with the right foundation, God, of course, and sound marriage counseling or counselors, mentors, you can ignore, or not, maybe not ignore, but you can glide through some of the problems that a lot of people just try to face on their own. And advice that I would give couples that have been married longer than 4 years, 5 years, continue dating your spouse. A lot of times once we get comfortable in a marriage, we get past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, the relationship gets to a place where it becomes familiar, it gets comfortable, or you feel that the love isn't the same, or they don't make the twinkle in your eye effect happen anymore. Butterfly feelings happen anymore. So one piece of advice that I give to people that are married longer than 4 years is learn to fall in love with each other over and over every year. Create ways to reconnect the way you did in your past. One thing that my husband and I do a lot of times when we think that things are getting normal or to a place where it's familiar is we create our first date, the first time we met. We'll go out and we'll act like it's the first time we're meeting, and we'll go to the same restaurant, wear the same outfits that we wore. And it may not be something that makes every couple exciting, but find your excitement. Maybe your wedding photos get you excited about loving each other again. Maybe watching the video makes you excited again, or talking about the first time you kissed or held hands, or whatever it is that gets you excited about loving each other again needs to be something that you can pull out when the relationship gets real quiet and you start feeling like roommates. And one thing that I can say about marriage, when children come into place, when work comes into place, when ministry comes into place, you can easily find yourself becoming a roommate if you don't make quality time for one another. So for couples that have been married more than 5 years, I say make sure that date life is hot, okay? Make sure it's hot and spicy. Even in this pandemic, my husband and I have made a point to still date. Every weekend we do something, even if it's in our backyard, even if it's in our living room. A lot of times people think that date nights are always an expense. It doesn't have to be an expense. It's really about spending that quality time reconnecting again. In that 5, 6, 7, 8 year, you have to reconnect over and over and over again to remain healthy and happy. A lot of couples are in relationships, they're still married, but the happiness is gone. How do you keep that happiness? How do you maintain that happiness? By reconnecting over and over and over again and making a point to fall in love with each other over and over and over again. I tell people all the time that you shouldn't love your spouse the same way you loved them when you first met them. After 5, 6 years, the love should be deeper and it should be strong. And that only happens when you are constantly finding ways to reconnect. So for my couples that have been married longer than 4 years, 5 years, date your spouse. Be intentional about reconnecting over and over again. Be intentional about falling in love with your spouse again. I always look for different ways to make my husband fall in love with me, and he does the same for me. Another thing, ladies, we get in this position where we feel like we're the ladies, so we're supposed to always be wooed, and we're supposed to always be the one that is chased. And yes, we know the man does chase the wife or whatever the case may be, but it's nothing wrong with matching your husband's energy. I'm a strong advocate for matching your husband's energy in the marriage so that he feels loved as well, so that he feels appreciated, so that he feels special, so that he feels that you are going out of your way for him as well. Never allow your husband to be the one that brings all the romance, that brings all the happiness, because what will happen is after 5, 6, 7 years of being the one that's always rolling out the red carpet, you find yourself wondering, where's my flowers every now and then? And not that you're gonna buy flowers, but if you know your husband likes steak, honey, go and make some steak. If you know your husband loves to watch the game and have you on his side, whether or not you understand the game or not, sit on the side of him and enjoy the game. It has to be 100, especially when you are entering into those latter years, those older years of marriage. You want to make sure that you're not just in it for the children. You're not in it because you got papers, you got a home together, you got a car that you own together. You're in it because you're enjoying your life partner, because you still love this person, because they still give you butterflies. My husband still gives me butterflies, and I still give him butterflies. And that is because we continue to work towards making our marriage happy. So again, for couples that are newlyweds, building phase, this is your building ground. Don't take nobody under you in this season. Make sure your husband is your priority and he's yours in your first 2 years of marriage. If you're married longer than 3 to 4 years, 5 years, be intentional about reconnecting and continuing to date.
I'm just laughing over here because these Johnsons are too much. They eating, they ain't showing nobody. They trying to eat on the side. They over there cuddling. I can't with y'all. I can't.
They adorable. They are beautiful.
I love them. They are cute.
Both couples are beautiful.
Yes, they are, and it's a beautiful thing to see two different couples showing their love and sharing their relationship with us. A question that was asked is, how long did each of you date before you got married? So we'll go to the Franklins. How long did you guys date before you got married?
Actually dated for a very short period of time before we got married. So I'm gonna try to remember this number here because my husband is good with numbers. Was it 6 months?
6 months.
9 months.
9 months.
And he actually chose the wedding date and also the engagement date. So our engagement was November the 7th, so 11/7. And then so he flipped the numbers around and it ended up being 7/11. So it happened to be on a Saturday.
That's a God thing.
So for 9 months.
Let me brag on myself real quick.
Go ahead, Doc.
I asked for her hand, her parents for her hand in marriage. Oh yeah, it's still happening, baby. And I mean, I sat in the parking lot. Yeah, I sat in the parking lot and I prayed to God. Honestly, I thanked them because, you know, and they were deceased at the time, but I thanked them. And I was just marveled. Wow, look at the situation that God has put me in. And I went inside the house, and you know, they were expecting me. And you know, Haitian parents, they like to talk to you in the dark in the living room. No lights on. So we talked forever. And I was just like, you know, I said, I want to ask for you all for your daughter's hand. And I love her very much. And, you know, I want to marry her and be a part of y'all's family. And y'all be a part of mine. And they said, son, of course. And
Mr. Phil is there.
Yeah. So it was just a magical thing. And, you know, I mean, it didn't take me too long to figure out, you know, that she was the one. So, you know, 9 months was very acceptable at the time.
So 9 months dating, how long were you guys engaged?
So July, from November to July,
so about 9 months.
9 months.
Okay.
I didn't plan that.
You didn't plan that? That's a God thing. God was saying he's birthing in this season with this relationship. Thank you for the Johnsons. Oh, yeah, I can't with y'all. What is next? You gonna take picture while he's sleeping, prophetess? What about you, Johnson? How long did you guys date for, and how long were you engaged?
Well, she told me. I met her the last Thursday in January of 2018 at Bible study. She was looking. She was looking homely, and that was what folks look like Coach D on Sunday mornings, and they be looking all homely on Bible study nights.
What? She still caught your attention though.
Yeah, but I ended up liking her. That's why I knew. I said, okay, this is real. I really like her. This child. But it was probably, and then she had a book launch that following Saturday. And then in 3 weeks, she said we was together. I thought we were still getting to know each other. And she said, well, I hope you know we together, right? No, that's what she said for real.
That's it, man. I'm mad at you.
Yeah, and my mother, and so it blew me by surprise, but nevertheless, we got engaged August 25th of 2018 or August 24th. It was one of the two.
Before we got engaged.
So that was only 5 months.
Yeah.
We were together 5 months before we got engaged, and then we got married a year and 2 weeks after getting engaged.
Let me tell you something, ladies, okay? If you see something, if you discern he's a good man, you not sit here and waste time talking about
but guess what though? But guess what though? And this is where the conflict came in, because the bishop and his wife said, well, y'all need to take your time. You need to at least a year or two and all this type of stuff. And my spiritual father was like, you better not listen to him. If you know God, no, he did. He said, you better not listen to him. You're going to be in trouble, son. Trust me. And so me and my wife was on the same page as my apostle. And we said, we don't need to be waiting and getting to know each other for a year and then be engaged for another year and then do this for another year.
Listen, the Bible says the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. I was not about to play around with God, okay? Number one, I've been single all my life, and God sent me this handsome caramel. I said, I'm not about to play with it.
But she said, listen, she said, I'm ready to get married. She said, I've been holding on to God's unchanging hand. Now I'm ready to hold on to something else.
Thank God this is PG. This is PG. PG.
Hold on.
But it's real anyhow. Listen, ladies, the problem is because people don't know how to keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real.
No, that's why we love you, prophetess.
I'm gonna keep it real. When he came, I said, man, every time I get around this man, I want to just jump on him, and we're just dating. It's not like we're purposely wanting, you know what I'm saying? It's just
attraction.
And I said, listen, we're not gonna play games. You know what you want, I know what I want. We're not gonna play games, and I'm not gonna play with God. So we're gonna do this the right way. We're not gonna be dating for 2 years. No, that's a waste of time. Okay, we know what we want when we got into it in the beginning. So let's get this done. So that was my whole mindset.
But I'm gonna tell you something too, real quick. The one thing I'm really glad about us, there have been couples that told me that have been married 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, that we've encountered and dealt with stuff in our engagement stage that they ain't dealt with yet. And so we've been able
to have real marriage. They ain't having a real marriage, honey.
True, I guess not, but then at the same time, like I told you, I said, well, we can't compare situations because we're different people. So you better be glad you didn't have to go through some of the things we went through. But I'm just privileged and glad that reason why we have a good marriage, because it can only go uphill from now. There was no hiding anything. There was no framing, like she says, going to your representative. No, it was a real deal. We pulled the mask off from the jump. So now it can only go uphill.
Exactly.
Amen. I just love them because they keep it real. And you know, what I appreciated about Pastor Johnson, the first time Prophetess did my makeup, he stayed. It was a whole day event. I was a consultant for a pageant, and she was the makeup artist for all the contestants. And from the beginning to the end of the event, you didn't see him complain. You didn't see him moan. He was right there. He was like the sous chef. He came in like, babe, what you need? And you know, that is a beautiful thing, that you can step into a woman's life who's independent, who's already have her career in place, and just jump right in and just be there when she needs. So I really appreciated that about him. So thank y'all so much for sharing. We're gonna go back to you, Dr. Carter, as the divorcee in the group. From a male's perspective, you know, this is a conversation that I had online, and I've tried to not hit it too hard when it comes to the divorcee group, because it can ruffle up some feathers. But from your perspective and your experience, not from your professional experience, but your personal experience, when you look back, and I know this ties in with your book, when you look back on that relationship, is there things that you would have done differently? Is there some experiences that you learned along the way that in your next relationship, if you decide to get married again, that
this is LaQuisa Boyd.
Sorry?
Yeah. Remember Green.
Yeah. Johnson.
Oh.
We love y'all. It's all right. I was trying to play it out, but it was like, okay. Dr. Carter was like, hey, hello.
Oh, no. Oh, absolutely.
And if you don't mind sharing, because from a male's perspective, I think it's so important, because you hear the woman's perspective a lot, you know, whatever platform you're on, and we really need to hear from a man's perspective.
I mean, listen,
challenges, so we can make sure that the voice is heard.
You know, the whole point of the book is to give a man's perspective, because I think, unfortunately, much of the dialogue is consumed by the female voice about challenges that are faced in relationships. And I think the dialogue is so strong that the idea of a man, even as a victim or having emotions or going through certain things, is undermined and demonized, as not being a real man. Men experience the same emotion, not unfortunately, but just point blank, men experience the same emotions women do. I believe we live in a world culturally that is more accepting of the women's emotions than they are of the man's. So you want my thoughts? I'm just I could open up a page and just drop on one about something that I learned. I learned that one, my ego was definitely something that needed to be addressed. I talk about no longer having the need to be right. One of the things that I was really faced with in my marriage at the time was trying to understand, well, if I'm the head and I'm the leader, or whatever that's supposed to be, why I gotta fight with you about what I'm trying to do? That always floored me. And what that did was it put me in a space where now I began to feel that I needed to prove I was right. And that was wrong. And so this need to be right is something that I've learned to overcome. I no longer have a need to be right by grace. Time, I've learned, will indicate if you're right or wrong. Time will clarify what needs to be clarified. So if you don't agree or you disagree, no problem. I also had to learn for myself what it meant to be my own man. That was a big part of the process. Being my own man, because if I'm caught in a situation where I feel undermined as a man, I begin to question myself as a man. So one of the things I've learned, my learning game has been, I am who I am. I'm solidified in myself as a man. I'm solidified in myself as a leader. I'm solidified in myself in terms of my strengths and my skill sets and my talents and my gifts and what I bring to the table. And we're going to deal with, and I'm going to handle and manage myself at that level. If you don't respond to that, if that's not for you, cool. So I've learned I don't need to prove anything. There's no beating of the chest. There's no need to be right and whatnot. So being solidified in who I am has been definitely one of my learning games. For me personally, I'm not, and I'm still working this out because I'm not so y'all could be really emotional sometimes. Just
blame the estrogen.
And I'm not mad at you being emotional. I'm just like, but why for so long though? Why for so long? It's the extended period of time that I just don't understand. Pastor Manny, get back on. I need to see your face while I'm talking. I need to not feel alone in this. And I need you to blink at me 2 times if you need some assistance.
Okay. They ain't trying to get in the doggy house.
So for me personally, I'm trying to learn how to be more empathetic in a long-term fashion. Now, so my challenge is this. I'm a very solution-oriented type of person. I want to know how she feels. I want to understand the situation. But as I learn and as I gather and as I pray and I interpret and I process, I eventually come to a place where I say, so how are we going to fix this? Right? How are we going to resolve it? How do we move from being in this space of our emotional reaction to developing a concrete plan to move forward? I think I moved there too quickly. So I seem not as sensitive, but I'm very sensitive. I'm a poet too, I could, I'm a romancer, I like all the candlelight and all that stuff, so.
Nice.
So we so that works though, right? So trust me, I understand where you're coming from. I empathize with you. But can we find a way to move into a space of solutions so we can resolve this? Because why we gotta be here so long? That'd be my problem, y'all. So I'm working on that.
Praise the Lord, Pastor. Praise the Lord, Minister.
I'm working on being more patient in that space. I think a lot of times y'all just want to be heard. Y'all don't want no answers. Y'all don't want nothing fixed. Y'all don't want no feedback. Y'all just want a brother to be a girlfriend. And I'd be like, but I'm a husband. I'm not a girlfriend. Like, go ahead, I talk with your girlfriend. But so it's not a matter of not being a space to come to. It's just after a while, I do want us to. I'm a fixer, and I don't mean a fixer in terms of fixing people. I mean as a Jamaican Bahamian gentleman, I cook, mop, dust, sew, wash, iron. It's the car, it's the, we paint, it's the building, it's the breaking down. So you get what I'm saying though? I need to get to a point where I can act on the situation. You understand what I'm saying? Don't stop bringing me stuff and I can't act on it. So I'm working on that. I hope I made sense to somebody. Coach D, help me.
Now, on that note, do you plan to get married again? Are you still processing? Are you still in your waiting phase or transition phase? Because
I think he should. I think he should.
Look at Coach.
Yeah.
I think he should.
Well, okay, continue to wait.
No, get married again.
Oh, get married again. Oh, no, I do plan on getting married again. I do believe that God has a wife for me. Let me put that out there. I don't even think I've ever even said. I know God has.
I think all this was just for your ministry purpose.
Right, and I fundamentally believe that. I've gained an insight that is, and in gaining that insight, I'm blessed to be a mouthpiece for a lot of other men who don't have the opportunity to share, because there is a real catastrophe of pain and hurt of men who want to do the right thing that they incur. And as while one side may be working with couples and helping to form that relationship, there are people who are falling out of that space who need the assistance too, to go through that recovery process as well. So I do plan on becoming married again. I'm not in any rush for it. I believe that when God shows that time, he will show it. But in the meantime, I'm continuing to build my platform and build my, my brand and do what I do as an educator and as a leader and as a conflict resolution practitioner.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Carter. Coach D, as we are wrapping up after this segment, I'm going to ask all my guests to think of the best advice they received for their relationship, as well as what is the best advice they have based on their experience in their relationship. So Coach D, what advice would you give to the divorcees? Are we considering separated people still married? Are they available for dating while they're in this status of separated? Because that was one of the posts that I had up there, and it was quite interesting on the responses that we got. So Coach D, share with us from the perspective of divorcees, separated, widowed, what advice would you give to them, and whether they're in the healing phase, still trying to recover, or in transitioning to go back into the market?
Well, as a marriage counselor, relationship coach, I see people in all different walks of life, people that are divorced, people that have never been married, regardless of age. I think that people have just been in positions where their relationship status has been single even for years. I've met people that have been 40 years old that have never been in a relationship, never been married. And my advice to anybody, regardless of your status, if you're not married and you desire your marriage, do not give up. I do believe that God has someone for everyone. I hate to go to the word because we've been kind of relaxed, but it's biblical. God saw that man were lonely, put Adam to sleep, took his rib, and created us. So there is a need for a helpmeet for every man. I honestly believe that Every woman is somebody's wife. I don't care how old you are, how washed up you may feel like you are. It doesn't matter. When you meet that one God has for you, it will work. It will be beautiful. I've seen people get married at 50 years old, believe it or not. I've seen divorcees get remarried. I've seen people that felt that no one would ever love them get married. So whether you are a man or a woman, divorced or never married, do not give up on love. If marriage is your desire, be in prayer about it. Ask God if you are positioned. Make sure that you are in a place that you are whole and you are ready to receive what God has for you, because I do believe being in position does play a big part of how our relationship journey goes. And as Prophetess said, if you meet somebody and you know they're it, don't play games with yourself. Don't act like you want to put somebody through this, cat and mouse game. If you meet a potential spouse, don't be afraid to give it your all, to experience love regardless of the time. I've known people that have been married within 3 weeks. My grandparents were married within 3 weeks of meeting each other. They're still married today. Okay? They're still married today. And I do believe that the time of love is still very much relevant. We live in a time where people act as if love and marriage is going out of style. And I say this all the time. Marriage is still in style. Marriage is still lit. Position yourself, make sure you're whole, you're healthy, and give love a shot. That's my advice to anyone that is single and waiting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I just have one last question that came to mind, but please continue thinking of your best advice. How has COVID-19 affected your relationship? Just a 30-second response. We'll start off with the Franklins. 30-second response. How has COVID-19 impacted your relationship?
For me, actually, I think the benefit was that for 2.5 years, I've been working from home. I'm a home-based. My position is home-based. So I'm kind of used working at home, and my husband also, he is part-time, home-based and on campus. So we're kind of used to being in a very close space and having to kind of manage, being apart and together. So it really hasn't been much of a challenge for us, thank God. But, I don't know if there's something that you want to add, but certainly I think, you have to really find your own space. That's what I could really give advice to when it comes to COVID-19, since everyone is kind of at home and not really able to kind of find their own space. So that's what I would add.
Yeah, and crazy at first, but then, soon thereafter, it became inseparable. So it was something that brought us closer together for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the Franklins and for being with us tonight. The Johnsons. Drop the T for me. Drop the T. Drop the T. I know y'all gonna drop the T.
Repeat the question.
No, it's how has COVID brought us closer? So it
no, how has COVID impacted? I don't know about closer. I don't know if it was closer or not.
Yeah, we were able to go to do a lot of stuff together that we wasn't privy to do. Like going to the gym more often, because we both go to the gym. We just were able to go together. We were able to take long walks and stuff. Simple things that we were like, man, we wish we could do this. Kick back or just eat some chicken, drink Kool-Aid, and watch Steve Urkel, stuff like that. Like, that was important, because sometimes we so much on the grind, and that's what we are grateful that COVID provided for us, the opportunity to slow down and pull back. And it wasn't no prayer meeting. Let's touch the face of heaven. Now we hanging out watching Steve Harvey show and Fresh Prince and chilling out. That's what it did. Yes. So it did really good stuff for us. I'm grateful for it, honestly.
It rekindled it helped us rediscover our love for each other, because sometimes people just on a go, and we're not sticking that connect. So it just helped us got closer.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Johnsons. Dr. Carter, how has COVID-19 impacted your relationship status?
My girlfriend is named Dissy. Dissy is for dissertation. As I'm
beautiful girlfriend, huh?
She's beautiful. Oh my gosh. But she's so much work though. So COVID has impacted my relationship, allowing her and I to get a lot closer. We continue and we're going strong even to this day. Yeah, I'm in the middle of writing my dissertation, y'all. So there's no yeah, that's what I've gotten close to.
Thank you for sharing, Dr. Carter. And we can't wait to celebrate when that dissertation you defended and they say, well done. And you, your oral presentation, everything goes well. Coach D, what advice do you have for people during COVID-19? Well, first tell us about your relationship, but we want to give Nick a shout out. We love you, Mr. Nick. Tell us, how has COVID-19 impacted your relationships? And then quick advice you can give for those during COVID-19, how they can take some healthy strategies for the relationships during this pandemic.
Yes. As I stated before, my husband and I do have date night every weekend. He's very busy and so am I. And I'm very big on reconnecting every week. So once COVID hit, we were not able to travel the way we would like to, or try the different restaurants and all of the different things that we would do in our going out for date night experiences. However, I think that COVID-19 has really opened up my creative side. For those of you that follow me on social media, I have turned my living room into a bowling alley, my backyard into a movie theater. I have turned my house into a, what have I done? I've done karaoke, and just, it's allowed me to get creative, my husband and I. It's allowed us to get very creative with our date night ideas. And my husband has even said, since restaurants have started opening, he's like, I think I prefer your indoor, your home date night activities better, as they're a lot more exciting and they're very unique. And I think what COVID has done for us has allowed us to get creative with one another and be very intentional about doing different things together, teaching each other new things. So COVID has affected me in some positive ways, even though it's affected me in negative ways as well, because I do have friends, very close friends, that have battled COVID-19. For those of you, most of you all know, my husband works in the medical field, so he's around that environment all the time. So, I'm always reminded of the struggles that people are going through out there with COVID-19. So I think it's affected me in both positive and a negative way. But on to the advice that I would give. You said you wanted me to give advice. What was the last thing you wanted me to
give advice for relationship status, how to have healthy strategies, whether you're single, you're courting, dating, or married.
Okay. Yes. So healthy strategies, strategies to keep your relationship healthy is having open communication, being real with one another, making sure that you are as real as possible. I think Pastor Matt mentioned how, he saw Mandy without her makeup and different things like that right away. Ladies, that's important. Your husband needs to see you out of the Chanel perfume and out of the lashes, out of the weaves, or whatever the case may be. They need to know the real you, okay? That's a way to keep your relationship healthy, believe it or not. A lot of times when people marry, the reality, the fantasy you, and then the reality you comes home, it becomes a struggle. I've had counseling sessions with couples that have come in and said, she doesn't look the way I thought she looked because she never allowed me to see her without her makeup. She doesn't have the body that I thought she had when we were dating because she always wore the girdle, or whatever the case may be. So one piece of advice is to be your real, authentic self with your spouse. Let them see you in your morning, however you look when you wake up. And these things are very important. It sounds funny, but it's very important in keeping a relationship healthy after the courting phase, because a lot of times in the courting phase, you see the perfect, polished version of a person. And after you got married, now the real them comes out. Let the real you come out right away. One thing that I did with my husband right away is I let him see me without my makeup, how I looked. He thinks I look like a child without makeup because I look very young, but he actually prefers me without makeup. He likes me natural. Another thing I did, I am a big eater. I love to eat. I let my husband see that right away on our first date. I wasn't afraid to finish my meal. I know it's funny, but a lot of women go and they don't finish their meal. I was told, don't eat all your food on your first date. I didn't do that. I ate my food because I know that I like to eat. And I didn't want my husband thinking that I'm small with no appetite. So he knew coming into the relationship, hey, she has a healthy appetite. She's gonna eat. I can't take her to a restaurant and expect her to, you know, just share a plate with me. These things sound funny, but believe it or not, they make people think that you're not your real self, or they married someone else when you get into marriage, and then all of a sudden you're behaving different or you're acting different. So for those that are in that courting phase, be yourself. For those that are married, journal together. My husband and I, believe it or not, we journal together a lot. We write down our ideas, things that we want to do. We do a couple's vision board every year. A lot of people do vision boards for fun, but we do it to plan our life out, or our year out together as a couple. So for you, those of you that are married, get into the habit of planning your year with your spouse. These are healthy habits to get into as a couple. Your spouse shouldn't be doing one thing and you doing something totally different. Yes, you're going to have different goals and different visions as it pertains to your purpose, but your spouse should be a part of your purpose. Even if you're not a prayer warrior, or he is, you should be entertaining his prayer life. You should be fasting when he's fasting, or at least quiet when he's praying. I always tell people, make your spouse's goals, your spouse's career, yours too. My husband is in the medical field. Believe it or not, I don't know nothing about the medical field, but I learned because of him. I listened because of him. I watch surgery because he enjoys that kind of stuff. Just because I want to be a part of what he's doing. So be a part of each other's life, not just life at home, but work life, friend life. Be a part of everything together. Those are ways to keep your relationship healthy and happy, when you're always a part of what the other person is doing. And for those that are single, my relationship advice is to prepare yourself. Make sure that you are in a position where you're healed from any past trauma, from any broken relationships, mommy issues, daddy issues, rape, molestation. Make sure that you're healed from all toxicity, because what happens is a lot of times, wherever you are emotionally is the kind of man or woman you're going to attract. So if you're in a healed place, a whole place, a place where you're ready to be a wife or ready to be a husband, then you're going to attract that same kind of person. So for those, again, that are single, make sure you get to a place where you're emotionally healthy, you're mentally whole, you're not broken in any way, because you do attract wherever you are emotionally. I'm a strong believer in that. When I was single and I was broken, I was attracting broken men. As soon as I got to the place where I was healthy and I was whole, I started attracting men that wanted marriage. Believe it or not, ladies, there are a lot of men that desire marriage, that want to be someone's husband. Get to a whole place, and believe me, your relationship season will shift. And now for those of you that are healed, that are whole, and still single and saying, God, what's going on? Sometimes it's just little things that we can tweak about ourselves that allow that relationship breakthrough to happen. Meaning, don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to go where you normally wouldn't go. Don't be afraid to date online. Don't be afraid to have someone set you up on a blind date. A lot of times these little things put us in position. If you want to be married and you're a great catch and you're always on the couch, how are you going to meet somebody? Somebody needs to hear that. You got to get off the couch. You got to get off the couch. And that is a way that I think a lot of Christian women are not found. We get stuck in our church. We go to our church over and over again. We see the same men, and one day we go somewhere different and boom, there he is. So single ladies, if you're just going to church and home, but just going to work and home, do something different. Go to the Barnes and Nobles. Go up the road to ballet fitness or, you know, a gym. Just do something different. Shift your norm around. Do something out of the ordinary to position yourself. Because sometimes it's not that we're not ready. It's that we're too complacent, or we're not approachable, or we're in a position where we're never anywhere but home. So get off the couch, ladies. If you're single, and if you meet a man, like Prophet Mandy said, don't be afraid to make it known that you desire marriage. Or, hey, I think we're gonna get married. That's okay in this time that we're living in. We're not saying get on your knees and ask the man to marry you. That's not what we're saying. So make sure that you don't decide you're gonna put on the pants and turn into the pursuer. But there's nothing wrong with being open about wanting marriage.
Thank you, Coach D.
You're welcome.
So as we are wrapping up, I want to thank my guests. I want to thank the engagement on Facebook Live. It has been lit. There's a couple other questions, but I want to be respectful because we said 9 o'clock and we are way over that. And I want to respect my guest time as well. I see you, Johnson. I want to respect my guest time as well, but I thank them for staying on because, as I stated, the reason for this conversation is to have a healthy dialogue. And I truly believe that we've impacted, changed the perspective, helped someone to be healed, delivered, set free, have a different understanding, to have hope again, whether they are divorced, whether they are widowed, or even separated and think about reconciliation back to their spouse, or even single and waiting for their husband or their wife. So as we are wrapping up, I'm going to ask each of my guests to take 30 seconds per person to give us the best advice they received for the relationship, as well as what is the best advice that they have from their perspective. And then also you can tell individuals if you want them to connect with you on your social media platform, you want to share your book, your services, your program, whatever you would like to share, as this is your closing remarks. And anyone can start.
I'll go quickly. Adrian Carter Speaks is where you can meet me on social media, www.adriancarterspeaks.com. And my book is available on everywhere where books are sold. It's sold out at the moment. Let's get married and do everything except make it last. And trust me, the book is not as daunting as it sounds. It actually ends in a very beautiful way, and I think you appreciate that. The best advice that I heard in hindsight, how it means so much more now. My father was like, make sure you marry a woman. A woman, someone who's a mature woman. And I was like, okay, Dad, I understand. But I didn't understand at the time. But that does make all the difference. I think, one of the things that my book talks about and alludes to is understanding that you have to be a matured woman, a mature male before you can become a husband. A lot of times the challenge is not being a man and being a husband at the same time. You're now putting the carriage before the horse. You can't be a husband before you be a man. You can't be a wife before you be a woman. You need to be a woman first. And when I say that in terms of being a matured individual who understands their role, understands their purpose, understands their self and their being, and then you can learn how to be a wife. Then you can learn how to be a husband. I think the challenge a lot of times is people are caught in the space of learning both. And if you're in that space, that's not the worst place to be, but it requires understanding that you're in that place and that your spouse is also learning how to be a woman or learning how to be a man, as they are also learning how to be a wife or learning how to be a husband.
That's deep. And that's why I think it's so important. I had a conversation with Coach D and a couple other women. There's a difference between a woman and a wife, and no one really teaches you how to be a wife. It's just like the transition from high school to college or college to the real world. It's just assumed that because you've crossed this milestone, you know what the expectations are, but you really don't, because there's no one really there to hold your hand and give you that training or experience, unless you had. I can't with the Johnsons. I really y'all need a vlog. To really have that perspective and someone training you along the way. And I think that's why it's so important when we go to the Bible. It says in Titus that the older women should train the young women, and are the same. The older men should train the younger men to know what it means to be a husband, to know what it means, what those characteristics, what those expectations are. Because unfortunately in relationships, you know, some of us women will be playing wife and girlfriend at the same time. And you're like,
Yeah.
no. And then we wonder why there's issues. So that's a very good point that you make, Dr. Carter, and I appreciate that insight, and I thank you once again. Please make sure you check with Dr. Carter, follow him on social media, get his book, doing great things. He's a minister, an author, he's a male expert, he's a conflict coach, an educator. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I've enjoyed dialoguing with him and seeing his posts on social media. This is the first time that I've engaged with him on such platforms. So I just thank you so much for dropping the knowledge and sharing with us and being transparent. You know, a lot of us have shared some things on here, and I think, you know, as we all are ministers in our own way, is realizing that our testimony helps us to overcome, but it also helps others to overcome. So I thank y'all for being transparent and sharing. Who would like to go next?
All right, so we can go. You can find me at Journaling Saves Lives. That's on. We have Facebook page. You can get your own email. So Journaling Saves Lives on Facebook. On Twitter, it's Journaling SLUSA. And then also House of Love Ministries. We have a website, houseofloveministriesfl.com. You can reach her at Mandy3cg@gmail.com or Discover the Beauty Women Empowerment. That's her platform on social media as well.
Or Mandy Fresh Makeup Artistry.
Mandy Fresh Makeup Artistry. So the best advice we received, look, I'm getting tongue-tied, child, that we have received was just take some time out to really enjoy, because by nature we're ministry driven, and both couples said, listen, y'all better take some time to go to that beach. It ain't even about taking trips out the country and all that sometimes. And it's just discouraging to know so many couples don't even go to the beach here. I said, Lord have mercy. So we go to the beach at least 5, 6, 7 times a month. So we love it. And then and the one thing I would recommend as advice is take the mask off. Show your real you from the jump. From the first date. Hey, let's talk about credit scores. Let's talk about bad habits. Let's talk about secret things. Let's talk about that on the first date. We're going to eat good, but we're going to talk about this real stuff, because then you give people a chance up front to make the decision if they want to continue or not.
Awesome. Prophetess, you want to add anything? Thank you.
Oh, I think my husband said a mouthful.
Thank you.
We thank the Johnsons. You guys have truly been entertaining with your mics off. I can't with y'all. I can't. Yeah, I know you're gonna send me a bag too. Okay, just make sure you mail it to the house and drop it off. But I thank y'all once again. Truly love the love between you two, the energy. You know, I just excited to see what God is doing. One day they're gonna have a church, y'all. So I need a building out, you know, a big ministry. So I need y'all to connect with their ministry. They're doing great work. They give back to the community. They have a community outreach for the ministry. So definitely support them in their efforts. Mandy Fresh, you looking for an MUA? She'll fix you up real nice. She'll beat the face real good. So make sure you connect with her and all the great things that they're doing. So I thank the Johnsons once again, but I need y'all to get a vlog.
Thank you.
Like I said, y'all are characters over there. All right, who would like to go next? The Franklins. Let's head on over to you.
Right. Well, the best advice that I would give, starting with the singles, is to really enjoy your journey to finding love. I think if it's not an enjoyable process, then by nature, it's not going to, you know, it's going to become cumbersome, and also not to necessarily take the dating, you know, so seriously. Once you know, if it's a potential, most likely it's not the one. And also trust God, you know, put God first as you do through everything, and He would lead you. And then for a marriage, you know, I would say for the newlyweds as an advice, one of the things that I know my husband and I, we've learned is to really understand each other's love language. It could be so different, something that is so simple, but yet so critical in a marriage and in a relationship. And I think that it's important to have that conversation. And you know, as it is so important. So that's one of the things that I would say in terms of the best advice.
Yes, and I would say always keep it very simple. Always proceed with purpose. If you don't know what your purpose is, then you're not proceeding it. So always proceed with purpose in whatever you do.
Awesome. Well, I think the Franklins, when Ann told me about this story, I was like, Ann? You know, Ann was very conservative. So to see Ann find love this way, it was so encouraging and so exciting. And I'm just so grateful that God answered your prayers, because you are a beautiful woman. And to find this man that is a man of God and genuine. And if your dad says yes, then we know it's all good. So we greet the Philizaires, Mr. and Mrs. Philizaire. Mr. Philizaire was my high school teacher, as well as the advisor for an organization in high school for the Haitian community, our Haitian Association in high school. So I know the Philizaires for a long, long time. And so I just pray peace and blessings on your marriage. May God continue to use you mightily. You have a great woman of God. She'll tell you like it is, though.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But a great person, great heart. So I pray blessings on you all. And we thank you so much for being with us tonight. And definitely, we can't wait to hear the great stories. Just make sure when I'm an aunt, okay? Just let me know ahead of time so I can be well prepared for my child, okay? Thank y'all again. Coach D, shut it down for us, Coach D.
I think I've already answered the questions, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, answered the question, but for those that want to find me on Facebook, you can find me at Delarice Tirani, or you can follow me at New Day Prayer with Delarice, and also the masterclass, Mrs. Tirani's Proverbs 31 Wife Masterclass, which is starting in October. October 22nd is going to be the last class of this year at the fall class. So you all can find me there. For those of you that are married, single, courting, or in a place where you're not even sure if you want to be married, this class is life-changing. It has been life-changing to everyone that has taken it. And I would love to connect with you on a deeper level. If you are in need of marriage counseling, relationship coaching, you can find me also on my coaching page at Coach D. God bless.
Thank you. And I want to thank all my guests tonight. This has been awesome. Like I said, we've got questions and great feedback. There was one last question that we did get, but due to time, we'll just have to figure out another platform to answer that person's question. But I thank you all. This has been insightful. I know I took some notes. I know I'm like, all right, there's hope. There's still hope out there, whether it's online dating or whether it's just being open to other opportunities. So I just thank you all once again. I pray peace and blessings on your ministry and your relationships and all that you do for the kingdom of God. And ladies and gentlemen on Facebook, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've taken some notes. Definitely follow up with these individuals. Definitely got some great stuff for you, whether you're looking for relationship coaching, conflict coaching, you're looking to do outreach ministry, or even journaling and mental health, or even just understanding about dating, online dating process. So definitely reach out to them. As we close, I have two things that I would like to announce. A lot of people that don't know, I was in seminary for 2.5 years. And while I was in seminary, I was doing a master's in pastoral counseling. And one of my areas that I wanted to focus on was singles. I always felt the singles were left out. I always felt like the singles were the stepchild, the black sheep in ministry. When you on Sunday sermons, you would hear everything about family, everything about children, but you would never hear a message about singles. And so it has been in my heart since 2006, I believe. I went to the late Eddie Long's church for a singles ministry, and my life changed forever, literally. Like, it was just so profound, the experience. And I've always wanted to I don't think they had the ministry, I don't think they did the singles conference after that year again. So it was either reinventing that process or going to other singles conferences. And so God placed it on my heart as I was trying to figure out, okay, God, like, why am I doing this? What does it mean? It has nothing, I'm a coach and consultant in the area of business, ministry, pageantry, nonprofit, and healthcare. I don't really touch up in the relationship process. But I just feel there's a need that we need to continue ministering to singles. So I just want to share this announcement with you all. Let me get my page here set up right. I want to share this announcement with you all that I am doing a singles ministry, singles conference in the month of October. It's cut off. So it's October 23rd and 24th. It's a 2-day virtual conference. The conference is called Purposeful Single. It is called It's Your Breakthrough Season. And I think it's so important based on what our audience, our panelists has spoken about, is not only just being in the relationship, whether that's marriage or courtship or engaged, but it's really about working on you. And so that's why this year's theme is it's your breakthrough season, that we have to break through our challenges. We have a breakthrough in understanding who we are, our purpose, and being purposefully single. As the late Dr. Miles Monroe said, he said, I can tell you how your marriage is going to be based on how you live your single life. You know, and people would tell me, as a single person, you are all over the place, you doing this and this, that. Trust me, because when I get married, I'm gonna live everything out that's on inside of me, so I can enjoy my husband and not be distracted by all the things that I'm doing as a single person. So I encourage you all to connect with us. We have early bird special, $25 starting today up until October 10th. Regular admission is $49 and VIP admission is $99. There'll be a coaching session opportunity. There'll be a coaching session, 30-minute, as well as a prayer session for 30 minutes. So you will get an hour of additional one-on-one contact with the individuals that will be a part of that process. And so I encourage you all that this is a scene. Don't let 2020 lie to you. This can be the best year of your life in relationships and everything that you want to do as an individual before God releases that husband or that wife to you. So definitely connect with us. We'll be giving out more information about our speakers, what the event is about, but trust me, if God will make it possible, 2006 changed my life as a single person. It set me free. I was delivered from a lot of challenges, being molested, being attacked by lesbianism, all these other spirits that came because of the spirit of perversion, because of sexual immorality. And so there's so much that we have to uncover and really bring up to life when it comes to being single. So that's my first announcement. Then my second announcement, if I can get my screen here. Second announcement. The second announcement, I can't find the flyer, but the second announcement is that we are still accepting applications for our top 30 global women leaders in marketplace ministry. This is an opportunity, no matter where you are around the world, to allow women to showcase their success in marketplace and in ministry. The application process is up until September 30th. There is an investment process. There's an investment to it if you are selected as one of the top 30, but definitely it's going to be a great opportunity. We're working with an editor and a publisher who has helped over 1,700 individuals, including myself, to become an international best-selling author, inducted to the Best-Selling Author Society, and receiving an Epi Award, as well as a Best Book finalist or something like that recently this year for the books that I've written through their company. So we want to just make sure that let people know that we're still accepting applications, as we want to look for the baddest women of God who are killing the game in ministry and the marketplace. So definitely, if you like more information about that, once this is over, we'll post it, because it's kind of hard to, I don't know why it's not showing up. So that is all for us. We're going to go ahead and close out in music, because I just love to worship. But once again, I thank my guest. What song was it? I want to thank my guest for joining, as well as all our Facebook Live individuals, and know that there is hope. There is a future for your relationship goals, status, and dreams and desires, and just never give up. But one thing I will say is work on you first. You are the most important person in the relationship, because if you are broken and you haven't dealt with your issues, no matter how good of a person that person may be, that relationship will not be the true relationship that is meant to be. So work on you. Do what you got to do. If you got to go see a therapist, if you got to get a relationship coach, whatever you got to do it, because you being healthy is the most important thing before you can be crying out to God about a husband or a wife. Amen. But I thank y'all once again. Y'all, it's a wrap. Good night. Love y'all with the love of the Lord. This is Dr. Fayola Delica, has been your host, and I just appreciate you all. Until next time. Bye.